Section 7.2.17-T. Question states, find the z-scores that separate the middle 96% of the total distribution from the area in the tails of the standard normal distribution. Okay, so what we're given is, we're given the area, which is equal to 96%. Now, converting that to a decimal gives us 0.9600. So let's go ahead and draw our bell curve. So we have, again, our normal distribution. So we know that we have a mean of 0. And so we have two z-scores. We have z1 and we have z2. And so what we want to do is we know that the area in the middle is equal to 0.96. And so what we want to do is we want to find, okay, what is the area here first and what is the area there? So in order to do that, in order to find the area on the left and on the right, so what we're going to do is we want to find the total area in both. So we're going to take 1 and then we're going to subtract the area in the middle, which is 0.96. And we know that there is an area on two places, so we're going to have to divide that by 2. So when we divide that by 2, we get 1 minus 0.96 divided by 2 gives us 0.02. So that means that this area here is 0.02 and this area here is 0.02. Okay, so think about that. If we take 0.96 and we add 0.02 plus 0.02, that's going to give us 1. So now we want to be able to find the z-score. So what we want to do is we want to look for, if we want to find z1, okay, we need to look at the area of 0.02. So if we're going to use the table, we want to find the area of where we see 0.02. So we have 0.0202. So let's go ahead and take a look at that here. So here's 0.02, and then we also have 0.0197. So what it's saying here is that the area is going to be in between those two. So let's go ahead and do that. So again, if we're using the table, this is how we would go about this. So we know that 0.02 lies in between here. So which one is it closer to? That's the next step. So the difference between those two is 2, and the difference between those two is 3. So we're going to use this area to find our z-score. So let's go ahead and do that on our table. So knowing that this is the area, we can see that we get negative 2.05. So therefore, the first z-score is negative 2.05. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to find the z-score on the right side, which is z2. Okay, so if we look at the area here, the area that we need to work with, okay, is to the left of z2. Well, the area to the left of z2 means that we need to take the area of 0.96 and then add 0.02 to use the table. So that becomes 0.98. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and look for 0.98. So let's see here. Here's 0.98, so it's in between those two numbers. So let's go ahead and highlight those. So it's in between those two. Okay, so we know that we're looking for the area of .9800. We want to find which one is it closer to. So if we subtract 98.9800 minus 0.9798, that's going to give us 2. And then over here, if we find a difference, it's going to give us 3. So that means we need to use the area of 0.9798. So since we're using 0.9798, that means that we're looking at positive 0.205. So therefore, we get the z-score of 2.05. And so therefore, the z-scores that separate the middle 96% of this distribution from the area and the tails of the standard normal distribution are negative 2.05 and 2.05. So that we can label them here now. So negative 2.05 and then 2.05. Okay, so now let's figure out how we would use this using the TI-84 calculator. So using TI-84, we're going to use INV norm because we're given the area and we want to find the z-score. So you still need to draw a picture so that you can figure out what is the area that you need. Okay, and you also have to go through steps 1, 2, and 3 to get to this result. So we know that if we want to find the z-score here for z1, then that's going to equal INV norm. In the area for z1, we saw we needed to use 0.02, and then the mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1. And then likewise, okay, to find z2, then again that's going to be INV norm. Okay, in the area that we're going to need is we can take 1 and subtract 0.02, 0, and then 1. Or we can use the 0.98 that we found here. So let's go ahead and use our calculator. So we're going to go to second and then distribution. And then we're going to go to INV norm. And then we're going to put in the area of 0.02 with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. And you can see that we get negative 2.05. And then over here, we're going to be using the area of 0.98. So second distribution, go back to INV norm. So we can either write 0.98 or you can also write 1 minus 0.02, comma, the mean, which is 0, standard deviation of 1, and then you can see that that's going to give us positive 2.05. So therefore, that's using the TI-84 calculator. Now, if we want to use StatCrunch, so let's use StatCrunch. So if we want to use StatCrunch, then we're going to do the following: stat, calculators, and then normal distribution. Okay, now, again, we need to go through steps 1, 2, 3 to figure out what are the areas that we need to use. So we know that our mean is 0, our standard deviation is 1. We want to find the area to the left of this because we want to find the z-score here. So if we know that the area here is 0.02, over here we're going to put in 0.02 so we can find the z-score here. When we select compute, you're going to see what the area is. I'm sorry, what the z-score is. So you can see that the z-score gives us negative 2.05. So again, like I said, you still need to follow and draw those first few steps in order to use this, even though it's going to give you a quicker way of being able to get that result. So that tells us that this represents the z-score, which is negative 2.05. Okay, now if we want to find the area or the z-score here, then what we need to do is we can do the following. You can either change this to greater than or equal to, but that gives you the area to the right. And so what we want to do is we want to find the area that represents 0.02 to the right. And if we put that 0.02, then it's going to give us that z-score. So again, you have to do a little bit of work prior to putting this information into the StatCrunch calculator if you're going to use StatCrunch to get that result. And so again, here we can see that this gives us the z-score of 2.05 here. Okay.